Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, buddy?
You okay?
I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned. What's up with that grin on your face?
You were looking over
You got
there.
that I just pumped the neighbor's cat look on your face.
No. You looked over there like you would not remember to do something.
No, I was just checking all the volumes and so on.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, it's all
Do you need
good.
to take one more look to make sure we're recording and all is well?
One more look could never hurt, but yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Wonderful to be here again. See you.
Yes, it is. Good to be seen.
Feeling
good to
feeling
see
strong?
You. I am.
Okay.
I am. Yes, sir.
That's good. When was the last time you were in Colorado?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been several years.
Has it?
I can't even tell you the last time, but it has been quite a while.
Do you like it?
I do.
All right. Where were you? Do you remember?
Let's see. We went to Steamboat Springs, and I think the last time I was there, though, I might have been in Denver. Yeah, Steamboat Springs area. It was actually a small town outside of there at a ranch, but I don't remember the name of that town. Escapes me right now, but it's just outside of Steamboat.
Chris, what's just outside of Steamboat?
A lot of trees and mountains and ranches.
Okay.
Yeah, a little place called the Home Ranch is where we were, and like I said, I can't remember. I think that little town has a bar, and that's it.
Okay.
Maybe a post office, but yeah, whatever the name of that little town was.
Well, Chris, welcome. One of us, for our listeners, is coming to you from, I'm going to say the Denver metro area. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thrilled to have you. Let me tell our audience a little bit about who you are and why you're here. Chris Pistorious, he is the CEO of Kickstart Dental Marketing. And some of you may be thinking, why do you have a guy that does dental marketing on your podcast? And I'll tell you why.
Because not enough of you are smiling, and we're going to fix that.
That's right. I would call Chris, based on what I've been able to learn about him over the past few days while studying up, I'd call him a master of digital marketing in general, and it applies to small businesses across the board, which is why this is an important topic for us to listen to, honestly, with our small business, but as well as all the people that are out there. Chris has worked with businesses in many different industries. He has a weekly podcast on marketing, best-in-class marketing strategies, award-winning firm that he runs. It is focused a lot in the dental arena, but make no mistake, it goes across. His landing page is kickstartdental.com if you want to look him up. Chris, thrilled to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I just did a quick Google search. Was it Clark, Colorado you were in for the Home Ranch?
Yes, bingo. That is it.
There you go. Found it.
Yep. That's it.
Nice.
Well, that's pretty good.
Well done, sir.
Yes.
Are you born and bred in Denver, or did you move in there from somewhere else?
No, I moved from a little bitty town in southern Illinois originally. I grew up there, and I was there and through college. Then I got transferred out of college to when I was working to a job in Colorado Springs. That was 24 years ago or so, and I haven't moved anywhere else.
Okay. It's a beautiful state.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
for sure. Yeah, no, you just never get tired of going places and seeing beautiful natural scenes, and I love being there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely gorgeous. I remember.
Yeah, it's funny. I think sometimes I take that for granted, And so then I'll go like on vacations or wherever other places. I'm like, man, I really miss Colorado.
Yeah.
Yep, ain't that the truth? I remember like flying into Denver and then driving up to that Steamboat Springs area, and that's just a beautiful ride the whole way.
Yeah.
It really is. Yep.
It's also better to do that than to fly into Steamboat, because you have a little bit of time to adjust to the altitude as you're climbing from Denver up there.
That's true.
Because the first time I didn't follow all the suggested protocol and got some nasty little altitude sickness.
Yeah, it's no joke. It can hit you. I've seen that happen. A lot of people that have visited here.
Yeah, it happened to be once, and took about a day, 24 hours or so to get over it. I was in Breckenridge. That's pretty high.
Okay.
Place.
Yeah, it is.
Breckenridge is up there. So
Yeah.
Well, Chris, let me start out with something that's kind of right in your wheelhouse, and then we'll branch out from there. I know that the first time I started hearing the term digital marketing, I didn't even know what it meant, honestly. So could you just orient us to what is that, and why is it important in the lives that we live today?
Yeah, well, digital marketing is basically, any form of marketing that you do that is not in the traditional sense of paper or, print of some sort, right? So it's, anything online that you're doing to, get your message out in front of the people that you want to attract to your business. 15 years ago, maybe a little longer now, I guess, but when the kind of before the internet and the digital age of marketing, a small business would put an ad in the yellow pages. They'd do some direct mail. There were a few different choices of the ways that they could market their business, and it was pretty simple, right? Now you enter the digital age, and these small businesses have 500 different places they can market themselves just online, just digitally. And it's really, while the digital age is the new medium where people are paying attention the most to, it's also become extremely complex for small, medium-sized businesses that are trying to figure out the best places to, spend their marketing dollars.
So how do you do that? You're exactly correct. And Bryant and I are both businessmen, and we have our businesses involved in marketing efforts. But I can tell you for a fact that it is complicated. It is difficult. It is where is our audience hanging out, and how do we connect with them digitally? It's not an easy thing to do, because there are there are what I would call the typical. There's LinkedIn is a big business thing, and there's Facebook, and there's Twitter, and there's Instagram, and I don't know. I'm probably saying what all the old people look at, but right. It's probably exactly what I did. I just aged myself with that one. But you're right. How do you decide? And I know that's what you do, but
yeah,
tell us about that.
Well, I think it starts, and this is where I see a lot of businesses kind of miss the mark, is like the very beginning, right? Mm-hmm. They just do digital marketing and they throw their messaging out there to all these different places and they hope something works, right? Well, as the saying goes, hope is not a strategy, and it's not something that we use here at Kickstart. But what you need to do in the beginning is really identify who your ideal customers are, right? And put it on paper, right? Maybe you want a 25 to 35-year-old female with 2.5 kids and a golden retriever. That's like your ideal customer, right? Or maybe it's a 45 to 65-year-old male with, retired, or, whatever it may be. You've got to figure out who it is that you want to come through your door, write those on paper and agree to it. That's when you have the foundation for a pretty good marketing campaign, because then you can go and find, or, that's kind of the trick of it, hire companies like mine maybe to go find where these people congregate and get your message out in front of them. So, that's the trick of it is, number one, figure out who it is you want. Number two, go find out where they hang out online and get your message out in front of them.
Love that. Hope is not a strategy.
Right.
That is a line I use often.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Appreciate you calling that out. That was ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that though. You're great. You got to, as far as you got to, in my mind, what I heard you say was, you got to identify what your target is before you just start launching stuff downrange.
Yeah, you're just throwing stuff against the wall, hoping something sticks, right?
Yeah. That's excellent info. So how do you? So for somebody that doesn't, and I know this is really a broad question, right? Because it depends on what they're doing. But what guidance could you give somebody to hone in on who their ideal target is?
You have to look at your numbers, and you got to know your numbers, right? People tell you that in business all the time, or if they're not, they should be, right? If I walk up to a business owner and I said, "Hey, man, what's your, what's your gross margins for this year or last year or the year before?" A business owner should really know those, like without having to look anything up. You got to know those numbers.
Right.
And so when you know those numbers, you also know who your ideal customers are, because you see the revenue come in. And you should have things in place as well that tell you a little bit demographically about who your customers are, like age range. One way to get that is we have some of our clients ask for birthdays so they can send out cards and stuff. But guess what? We're also finding how old they are, right? So there's tricks and tips on how to gather some of that demographic data. But as a business owner, you need to be paying attention to that and getting that. I mean, we still see clients come in and aren't getting email addresses from clients. I mean, that's like makes my head want to explode a little bit. But
yeah.
Look, these clients know you, they like you, they trust you. That's the whole purpose of doing marketing, is getting more people to do that, right? So if they know you, they like you, and they trust you, they're going to be willing to give you their information. And you've got to put that information somewhere in a database where you can collect all that data in one place, and it identifies, who they are. And then you can start identifying, okay, well, Roger, he's a great client. That's what we want. He spends a lot of money. And then you start creating these audiences, if you will, of what Rogers look like. And then you have, kind of your ideal customers.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, well, actually, Kevin was talking about it when he first started introducing you, in that you have a specialty in the world of dental practices and digital marketing therein. And at the same time, this is much more of a kind of an approach that works for any industry, really.
Yeah.
So you didn't start out specifically targeting dental practices for this. So I think there's some value in maybe sharing with us how you got to that and why you narrowed it down to just that specific focus.
Yeah, so about 14 years ago is when I started an agency, and you're exactly right. I took on an agency that, at the time was going to focus just in social media, and number two, it was just going to, take on any client that would be willing to pay us, basically. Because I quit I used to, this is really going to age me, but I used to work for America Online, or AOL, right? And so I quit a pretty nice job there to go do this, and my wife, and at the time, was pretty much like, "Are you nuts?" And I had two little kids at the time, and I'm like, well, now or never, right? So we went all in on it, and we started out strong, brought on a lot of different clients, and we did pretty well in the first year. But then we started looking at results for our clients. And what we found was a pattern of, we do great for an attorney, right? And then we take on an auto body guy, right? Well, that's two different campaigns, way different, people we're trying to reach for them. I mean, their demographics are like way different sometimes. So what we found is that by the time we figured out the auto repair business or auto body business, it was a few months in, and sometimes we're just kind of slow to get out of the gate and get our clients the results that they want. So we saw this kind of happening consistently, and we're like, you know what? Let's just niche down. Let's be the expert at something, right? And go for it. And so we looked at our current clients, and at the time we had like 4 or 5 dentists, I think, and we did great for them. We were just knocking it out of the park. They were easy to work with for the most part. They paid their bills, which is always good. And we went for it, man. We went from iFuse internet marketing to Kickstart dental marketing pretty much overnight. We kept all of our legacy clients too. But we just kind of put our foot in the ground and said, look, this is the way to go. This is the future. And we haven't really looked back for that.
Yeah, one of the things that I really appreciated about your website, and that was very effective, and you even talked about this on other podcasts, is the short videos of people, the testimonials, and both testimonials from your clients, but also you talking about any number of different topics for just a few minutes at a time. That's very effective, especially today. I mean, that's what's drawn people in, I suppose, as much as, or maybe more than anything else. And I think part of the reason that people maybe many small businesses don't do that is because they think it's hard. They don't like to be in front of the camera. I mean, why is that? Because that's really something to help them overcome and really make some significant strides forward.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all about credibility and building authority in your marketplace. I don't care if you're the attorney in your local community, the auto body guy, the dentist, whatever, right? You have to make yourself, is when somebody thinks of a dentist or an auto body guy, they think of you first. And the way that they do that is because of two things. Number one, creating and building authority, which you do with doing podcasting like this. You do it by doing press releases every so often where you get featured talking about whatever, right? And then you leverage those assets out onto your website, out onto social media. So when somebody does check you out, they see, oh, wow, you're featured on CBS in Omaha, for instance. And wow, you're doing this podcast and you're talking about bam, 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 bam services. This person must really know what they're talking about. And then they're comparing you to others in your market who's not doing this. And trust me, most aren't. And you stick out like a sore thumb. And that's how you really gain a competitive advantage, in my opinion, and how you build credibility and authority, right? And so there are still, podcasting isn't anything new. This is, we still haven't reached the peak of podcasting, but
right.
There's so many local businesses that just don't do this, and they should be. And I think for some of the reasons you mentioned, camera shy, or just not sure how to do it, or maybe not tech savvy. And so, part of our marketing plans for our clients is getting them involved in podcasting. We actually set up their podcast for them so that they just give us content. They record their own content, send it to us, and we produce it and send it out for them, because it is so important to make sure that they are the leaders in their markets.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that. So I want to dive deeper into, well, first off, I got to ask, does AOL even still exist? It must, because I know, I was laughing about it in my head when you said that, because I know some people that are friends of mine that still have an AOL.com email address. Now, I challenge you to find somebody under like 40 that's got one of those. But
no, 50 at least.
Yeah, maybe 50, but I was being kind, but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's
yeah,
funny because I was just talking to a dentist by email, and he had an AOL.com email address. But yeah, they're still around in a much different capacity. But you remember how you used to get those discs in the mail? Where they'd give you like 30 hours for free to sign up or whatever. Man, yeah, seems like 100 years ago.
Yeah, still, that dial-up sound, right? Anybody that was around during that time, as soon as you hear that sound, you know exactly what that is.
You tie up a phone line, you put your phone like on the modem.
So I decided to check you out, and this is going to lead to a question. Digital marketing, master of the digital domain. And so I just wanted to see, are you out there, and how many different platforms are you on, and how effective are they, and all of that. And you passed the test, not that it was very objective, it was more subjective, but I checked all of the standard ones that I could think of, and you were there and you were doing it, and it seemed like it was really good. But this leads to a question, actually two questions. So the first question is, once you start to feed the beast, the digital marketing beast, it never ends. If your last posting was from last month, people are like, that's getting a little dated.
Yeah.
So, and so you got to kind of be selective, don't you, about which venues that you choose to be on, because all of a sudden you're finding yourself having to, if you're having to respond to all these different things, you'll do nothing but spending your time putting out social media. If you could address that.
Yeah, and this one actually hits home. I got to the point to where I was doing a weekly podcast, right? And we got really busy. We were bringing in new clients, and we're trying to grow the business. We made some new hires, and I got away from it. It caught up to me. I was like, I'll just skip this week and we'll do next week. And that's not good. So when you commit to something, social media or podcasting or whatever it is, the only way that it's going to really work is if you keep doing it consistently.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So it's like a small business. If you're a restaurant and you're open 8 to 5 or whatever your hours are, you better be open 8 to 5. It can't be somebody gets there at 8:15 and you're not open.
Right.
Because then you start losing credibility with people, and it's the same way with this stuff. So I actually, even though this is going to be ironic, even though my company helps set up podcasts for our clients, I hired somebody to do the same thing and produce my show, which will be starting back up hopefully in the next week or two.
Okay.
Just because my problem was time. And so I was doing everything myself. So I was doing the video, I was doing the editing, I was doing the graphics. I'd have somebody kind of do video editing for me, but it was just taking too much time. And that's what ultimately got me started not doing it. But you're absolutely right. Once you commit to it, you got to stay with it. And you're also right with social media. It's the same thing. It's a consistent presence and message. So I think my recommendation, just going through some of this, is, once it gets to the point where it's off the ground and you feel good with it, start hiring people or assistants or virtual assistants to do some of the heavy lifting for you, where you might create the content, but you don't have to be the one posting it on Facebook and Instagram and all these other places. So consistency is the name of the game with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to come to the point where you can identify the value of your time and determine, is this activity a good and wise use of my time, or can I pay somebody to do it for far less than what I'm losing by doing it myself?
Yeah, it's a control thing too, or at least it was for me, is because I guess I'm a little bit of a control freak. And, I think anybody that starts their own business probably is to some extent. But, it was hard for me, especially in the beginning of my company, because I just created a job for myself in the beginning. I didn't create a company, right? So I just went and did SEO. I did the paid ads. I did everything, right? And I was like, well, shoot, man, if I want to go on vacation next week, the whole business has to shut down because I'm doing everything, right? So I didn't create a company. I created a job for myself. And so what your point is, once you get to a point of good growth where you can financially make the choice to do this, hire somebody to list out everything that you do, put them in prioritize them by what you like to do versus what you don't like to do, and then start handing off the stuff you don't like to do to people that you hire. And then that was how you create a company and how you create a business, right? So it's not just you doing it. So I think you're absolutely right.
So when I was going back to the AOL thing, there was another part of that question I wanted to dive into. I keep revisiting that, right? Because I think it's cool, right? So I want to understand how you went from that job and transitioned into starting your own business. What were some of the precursors to that? And I'd like to hear about the support that you got from family and friends, or lack thereof, potentially, and hear that, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, I got a little tired of the stock price, because these big companies, I don't care who you talk to or what they tell you, it's all about the stock price. They don't give a damn about the small business. They don't give a damn about the medium-sized business. They give a damn about their stock price. And so that's what I got frustrated with, in that, we would have to hit revenue targets every quarter, right? And the only way to do that is to sell. And sometimes we would just create new products without testing them and say, hey, we got to go sell X amount of these every quarter. And so I'm going out there and I'm, basically selling digital advertising to people and small, medium-sized businesses. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Hadn't been tested. And there's even times where I knew it probably wouldn't. And so I sell a lot of myself when I sell our services. And so I've got to look somebody in the eye and be able to tell them, yeah, this is going to work or this isn't going to work. And so we were at AOL, and I could countless others that I've worked for. We're not always doing the right thing for the client. We're doing the right thing for the stock price. And so that's really what inspired me to go out and start my own, do something different, where you do the right things for people and your customers and their businesses, and everything else, the money will fall into place, right? So that was my biggest motivation for sure.
How about that family support and the friends? Everybody
right.
tell you what a great idea you had. And
well, they left 24 years ago. I haven't. No, just kidding. At first they thought I was nuts. Some of them, family and friends, and some of them, kind of also said, yeah, you know what, go for it, because if you don't do it now, you're probably never going to do it, right? And so, I took all my naysayers. And I put them right on my shoulder, hence the chip on the shoulder. And I was like, all right, this is my motivation. This is what I'm going to prove. This is who I'm going to prove wrong. And, you talk about, some athletes out there, they always have to find something that pisses them off about their competitor, right? To really motivate them to want to really put it in their face. And I think that happened to me a little bit in the terms of, all right, some people don't think I can do this. I've been underestimated a lot in my life, and, all right, let's go do it. And so I think overall, I mean, I had a lot of support from my family, no question. There was always a little bit of a, are you sure? But, friends, or who I thought were friends at the time, like, you're nuts, just go back to work, man. You're crazy. Those are the ones I put on my shoulder.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And the reason I asked that question is I know that so many people experience this. There may be somebody listening right now that is in that same exact situation where they're fed up with where they are because they're serving a master they don't believe in. And in your example, it's the stock price. They're looking for something to do that's more fulfilling. And the line of people typically that are going to line up and tell you what a great idea that is to leave that safe and secure environment of that job that you have and go off and do your own thing. And it's like you're leaving the tribe and you're starting your own tribe, but you're the only member of the tribe. So you've got to be the hunter. You've got to be everything to that tribe until you can build it into something bigger.
Yeah, no question about it. But what I will tell you is be careful because, while you're probably good at something, whether it's, being a dentist or baking cakes, whatever it may be, make sure you're good and knowledgeable about running a business, right? Because that's why most small businesses fail in the US is because you're really good at doing something. So like baking cakes. So you think I'm going to go start my own cake baking company, right? And you wind up doing that really well, but nobody comes in the door because guess what? You don't know how to market a business. You don't know how to hire people. You don't know how to run payroll. So, it's just make sure you're not just good at something, but you understand business in general.
Yeah, I like this. I'm glad you took it off that, away from the actual tactical digital marketing for businesses and pulled it over onto the personal side a little bit because I was wanting to go there anyway. And I love what you just said about knowing what you're good at and knowing how to run the business, and they are not the same thing. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. And you got to find the help to do that. But let me just ask you this question. We as individual people who live in this digital world also have a personal marketing presence out there. And some people really blow it. This might be a bridge too far, but do you have advice for people in their personal lives, not necessarily their business lives, but in their personal lives on how they ought to behave out there? Is that something that crosses your plate from time to time, or maybe more than that?
Like they're protecting their own brand.
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I know some examples of this, and my rule has always been kind of stay neutral. Stay away from politics. With your business anyway. Yep. And you know what? Business and personal have merged in today's society because most of the time they can find out who owns a business and then go check out their LinkedIn page or their Facebook page or their Instagram page. And if you're posting political stuff on your beliefs there, you're more than empowered to do that. But you have to be careful because not everybody thinks like you, right? And as divided as we are now as a country, you're probably going to piss off 50% of your potential customers, right? So I try to stay away from it. I try to stay neutral, and of course I have my beliefs and anything like that, but I really do my best to keep that separate and out of my business portfolio, if you will.
It's so interesting that you said that, and I know so many people can relate to this. I have some favorite actors, and I have some favorite singers and bands, and I have some favorite artists that I love their art, no matter what, how they choose to express themselves. But as soon as they start going political, and unfortunately, like you said today, so many of them are.
Yep.
There are those that I just love their music. I'm thinking of something.
They're dead to me now.
Because they start going out there, and I'm like, wow, you are an amazing musician, but I just can't stand you anymore because of all the, because they hold beliefs that I don't, and that's fine. I don't mind if people don't hold the beliefs, but don't put it out there in a way that you alienate half of your audience. And that's people. I don't know how to tell people not to do that because it seems the blazing obvious, but
Yeah, I know. And, it's complicated, right? Because, people, I think celebrities want to use their platforms to, support the things that they believe in. And some of me kind of understands that for obvious things, I guess, like world hunger, right? I don't think anybody out there would disagree that we need to probably work on things like that. But when you get into this stuff of politics and Republican versus Democrat, and there's so many issues right now, that are 50-50 issues, I call them, right? 50, we're so divided, right, that you're risking, your business. And, LeBron James keeps coming to mind for me on this. And, he's a basketball player I respect. I like to watch him play. But man, when he starts talking off the court, I turn off the TV because I just can't take it. Right. And it's not because I disagree with him. It's just because he's just overusing his platform and getting almost too personal. And you compare to him somebody like Michael Jordan back in the day. And Michael Jordan was, in my opinion, better than LeBron James on the basketball court, but he really did his best to stay out of politics, and in fact, he was criticized for not using his platform to, really represent certain things, with his platform. So, I get it. And it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you're one of those people, I think. But I think some of them definitely take it on and they enjoy it and they go too far with it. I think you've got to be careful. And I think my point here is that if you're a business owner, you've got to be careful too, because if you really go strong on one side or the other, you're probably going to piss somebody off.
I mean, yeah, we ought to be able to create, and maybe somebody will have the wherewithal to do what I'm about to say here. If we could create some type of an emotion filter on the send key in any kind of electronic device that we're using, and when you are not in an emotionally good stage, it won't send.
Yeah,
because I think we have to be that filter, or that litmus test for ourselves, and pull the reins back a little bit and say, you know what, I'm not gonna send this yet. I'm gonna reread it when I calm down a little bit and I process this, and then if you want to still send it, but just check yourself.
It's kind of like I'm trying to figure out how to, I think this would be good for people if like when you touched your phone, it took your blood alcohol level too. So if you get to a point that you're too drunk to really be talking to people, it just won't turn on for you.
Right.
I think that kind of goes.
It'll only open certain apps like
That's
Uber.
Right.
And
Uber, Lyft, 911, maybe.
Right. Your friends list or your favorites, so you can call and get a damn ride.
That's right.
So here's an off the wall question. Do you like what you're doing?
I've been doing it for 14 years now. I get asked that a lot, and there's a lot of days I really enjoy it. And then there's days where, it's a little bit of a grind. It's, I've got a lot of people responsible that I'm responsible for at the end of the day. We've got a staff of 14 now, I think. And if the business isn't successful, it's not just me, right? It's 14 families out there that are relying on this job. And we've gone through COVID, economic up and downs, and that does wear on you, I think, over the years. And I would say, though, 80% of the time I love what I do. I'm one of those guys that'll probably never not work in some capacity because I enjoy it and I like doing it. And if you enjoy it and you love doing it, I'm not sure really it's considered work. So, but yeah, I mean, there's times where it's a little bit of a roller coaster, and when you start really thinking about everything that's on your shoulders, it can catch up to you.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned COVID, and I know there's a ton of businesses that struggled during COVID. Interesting though that you specifically have the niche of dental practices, right? So the dentist, nobody wants to be near anyone during this time, and we certainly don't want to be putting our face near your mouth. I bet that was a rough time, huh?
Well, it's funny. I was at home. I was watching the news when all this COVID stuff was exploding, and President Trump came on in a news conference, and he specifically said in this news conference that if you have a dental appointment, you should probably think about canceling that. And then on the ticker below, it says something about, dentists are mandated to close down. And I took a screenshot of that. And I think that was kind of the oh shit point in my life of like, this is going to be a little rocky. We better figure out how we're going to overcome this. So, yeah, I mean, there was a point where for at least 30 days and several months for other states where dentists were mandated to shut down. And it's hard to talk a dentist into doing marketing for thousands of dollars when they're not open, right? To bring in new patients. So, yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, so that begs the question, right? Did you come up with, or were there any new, innovative strategies on products that developed out of the fact that you can't get in to have your routine cleanings? Or, I mean, I don't know, were folks still available for dental emergencies? I hope.
Yeah. So that was the only thing that basically people could go to the dentist for, if I remember correctly. But most of our practices didn't even want to do that. So they were just like, we're shutting down until we can, it's safe to go back to work. Right. So we had to pivot pretty quickly. We didn't lay anybody off. We didn't fire anybody, which I'm proud of. But we were able to, I got on the old video camera pretty quickly, and I started doing regular, not podcasts, but just like, hey, here's where you are, here's what you need to do. I would investigate all of the, the COVID relief funds that businesses could apply for instance. I would really get in and research those. And then I'd do videos like this, giving tips to dentists on how to apply for that money. Because I'm thinking, all right, if we can get them that money, then they probably will continue to market, and they'll probably continue to keep their staff on board. And then my whole messaging behind doing all of that was, look, this is a great opportunity for you, because 60-70% of your competition is going to stop doing any marketing, right? But if you keep your foot on the pedal and you accelerate through this, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know if it's 6 months from now or a year from now, you can come out of this ahead of your competition, because you're still marketing and you're still providing value and content to your clients. And so that was kind of the whole thinking behind the strategy. And then the little parts in front of the strategy were as little videos on how to get more money from the government, what we're seeing here, what we're seeing there, things like that. And we were lucky. We only had about 50% of our client base, only I say, actually paused their campaigns with us during the time that they were shut down. And we only lost overall, like they canceled with us directly, about 10% of our clients. So to me, that was pretty successful, because I saw a lot more damage being done in other venues. So that was our strategy. It was just all about pivoting and changing our messaging pretty quickly.
Gotcha.
It's good stuff. I love the idea. And it's actually a theme that we talk about a good bit. There's opportunity everywhere. Where there's change, there's opportunity. And if you wake up every day and you just sort of think, okay, I'm in a storm right now. It might be even a perfect storm. This might be the most hellacious storm I've ever been in. And you just kind of try to take a deep breath and say, where's the opportunity here? Just like you did with the, many, maybe even most of your competitors are not marketing right now. You keep doing it. You keep putting your foot on the gas pedal. Yep. You're going to be all right. You gotta ride out this storm. It's great advice. I also like your 80-20 rule back to your own personal life. 80% of the time, I really like what I'm doing. 20% of the time, I don't.
Well, it's just realistic, right? I mean, if anybody tells you 100% of the time they live what they're doing, I call BS on that.
Absolutely. No, you are exactly correct. And it's a great lesson.
You're right. And in anything, you're going to have that. Right. Those things that have to be done that, aren't things that you would do by choice if you could do something else. Right. At the same time, there's still critical things that need to be done.
That's right.
And they may be things that no one but you can do. And you just got to suck it up and get it done.
Yep. You got it.
So think about for a second your what I would call your overall success in your business life. We all have to work if we want to eat and take care of our families. For you personally, and I'm now thinking about our audience who's always wanting to eat up these, how can I live a better life? For you personally, what has really worked? What has made you successful at what are those guiding principles or key elements, or how would you describe that?
I think probably I'll rephrase your question, I guess.
Okay.
To
Oh,
make
that's
it
good.
work.
I love this, actually. I really do.
I didn't like your question. I'm going to ask myself another
I
one.
think I could be a politician.
Right. Let me tell you what you
think
meant to ask me.
yeah, right. I
Yeah.
think probably my biggest successes are that I've been able to take 14 people and their families and give them a little bit better life, right?
Okay.
Because we typically pay pretty well. We do something that's kind of unheard of. We give a week of paid vacation every 10 weeks to our employees, right? We give them another 2 weeks off for just, whatever. Okay. We give them $1,000 vacation credit if they go on vacation. We take really good care of our people. And the whole point of when we talk about back when I was in corporate America, dude, I worked 65 hours a week, probably plus.
Right.
I'd travel all the time and I didn't get to spend any time with my kids and who were little. I was like, that was another part of the reason of me wanting to start my own thing is like, you know what? I don't want to do that. Right. I want to be there for baseball games and, softball games and things like that. So we give a great amount of freedom and flexibility to our clients to allow them to spend a lot of time with their families and make good money while they do it. Right. But for myself, that's the other thing. My daughter just she's a sophomore in college now. I didn't miss anything. I didn't from the time she was 5 or 6 on. My son, I help coach his baseball team. I work out with him. I catch him for baseball. I'm there all the time. And, sometimes my family might say I'm there too much, but I think those, honestly, the money, great. Yeah. But it gives me a lot of freedom as well. But, I think building those employees' lives in my own and giving ourselves some freedom and to hang out with family is pretty cool.
So, yeah,
That's
said
outstanding.
Yeah. The whole freedom thing. I was going to say, what is okay? So you do those things and those are real things and they're valuable things, but what is it about you that makes you want to do that for other people? And I don't want to put words in your mouth. I could tell you what I think based on what you said, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
He still doesn't like your question.
I know he does not like my question.
No, I think it's cool that, people start their own businesses, but at the same time, I don't think everybody's capable of it.
Okay.
And I don't want that to come off wrong. Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair statement.
I would compare that to this broad thinking that is, so old school. And I'm sorry if I piss anybody off that you have to go to college. I don't think so. I dropped out of college. Right.
Yeah.
And I built a successful business. I don't think anybody has to go to college because maybe that's not what they want to do, or maybe they're just not good at school or it doesn't interest them. Right. So, go learn how to weld, go learn how to fix pipes. You'll do very well. And, you don't need that education in a 4-year college. There are some people that are very good at and safe and feel structured and working for others, and amen to them. Right. But there are certain people like me that, that's just not for them. And they want to create something different. And they want to create something new and they want to be an entrepreneur. And, I think that because I'm that kind of a person that I'm kind of fulfilling what I was meant to.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it does. No, this is good stuff.
Absolutely. I don't know what it is with these welding messages that keep coming forward to me.
Yeah.
But I am taking steps towards it. Right. I have found a school here locally, and I'm going to go learn how to weld.
Are you really?
Yeah. I want not to, do that as a job or a career. I just want to learn how to weld and fabricate stuff for my own,
Awesome.
hobbies and so on.
Dude, I tried to figure it out on my own and it did not go well. I got this 84 CJ7 Jeep that was just it was like Swiss cheese. You could look through it, basically see through it. And I tried to do patchwork. So I went and rented a wire welder and thought I could figure it out. And oh my goodness. Whew, I almost killed myself.
Yeah. There's a school not too far from here, and they've got a bunch of different classes. I think I'm going to take the sampler where you learn how to stick weld and MIG and TIG weld,
Nice.
do some light fabricating.
I think it's crazy that our education system's taking vocational training out of schools now.
It makes no sense.
Right.
And you're certainly not offending, at least not me anyways, as far as the college. And I venture to say it's not offending Kevin either. There's some really good education out there in colleges in our country, no doubt.
Yep.
And I will also say, without a doubt, in my opinion, that our educational system in the United States has been used for not the best things, right? It's been somewhat of an indoctrination system for certain ways of thinking over the past couple of decades. And there's been less value put on things like trades, like you mentioned, and there's huge importance in that. If for nothing else, learning how to take care of your own house.
Yes.
So you're not paying somebody else to do it because you've got some skills and knowledge where you can maintain your own stuff.
Yep. Totally agree.
I had a great point I was going to make, and you just totally took me off on that one.
Sorry, this was not on the discussion list, was it?
No, it was.
We don't have
no.
one of those.
What was I? It's gone. It don't matter.
It'll come back to you.
What was I? It doesn't matter. All right. Well,
but I think that's sound advice, right? So certainly pay more attention to what's going on out there in the vocational world and why, put more value in that. And I'd also encourage folks to maybe look and see, what do you want in life, right? So maybe if you're one of these people that wants these toys and wants to go out and do these things and, play on the weekends with these toys and so on, go out there and do your own little personal survey and ask the people that are doing this stuff what they do for a living. Who are the guys out there playing with the toys?
Yep.
I think it's going to surprise you who they are.
Yeah.
I totally, for sure.
And you reminded me, not you, but this whole circumstance reminded me of what I want to say. If you're a young 20-something and you're out there listening, or if you're an older than that and you have friends or family who are young 20-somethings, here's an idea. There's opportunity everywhere. I live in an environment right now where there's this tremendous need for people who do construction of all kinds. There's just such a shortage of people. We came out of COVID. Now everybody wants it. You want to start a business? Start a construction business. I'm telling you, you don't have to know how to weld anything. You don't have to know how to hold a hammer. If you have some business savvy and you think you can have the interpersonal skills to bring people in to do that, start a construction company, and there will be no end to the work that you can have. Because how often do you want somebody to come and build something for you at a reasonable price, and the wait time is 6 months to a year? It just doesn't happen. It's
for sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. I think that's going to shift a little bit
will.
in the near term, because as long as these interest rates keep going up, I think that the building is going to slow down some, and some of those people that there's going to be more need for work, and you might find some greater availability with some of those tradespeople.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But coming the other direction, right? It won't be a shortage of them.
Right.
They'll be needing more work because the work's going to slow down as those interest rates continue to climb.
I gotcha.
That's just my opinion.
Chris, one of the things I like to do is summarize some key takeaways for me. So I'm going to do that with you right now. Things that you said that were really important to me. First of all, consistency is key. Digital marketing, it doesn't matter what. We're talking about digital marketing, though. That's what we started with. But this idea of staying at it time after time after time and keep doing it, because if you don't do it, you lose it, and all of a sudden your audience is gone. Thank you for that. Think through who your audience is when you're doing this digital marketing thing. Take the time. Don't just blast it out to everybody. That was wonderful. Be neutral. That was a great point that I thought is, why do you want to remove half of your audience? And it's really true. Brian and I have talked about it many times. Somebody will come out with some political statement. I'm done. Okay, that's it. I loved you right up until that moment. 80-20 rule. Everybody has times they go through on their personal lives where 20% of the time it's not fun. Maybe it even sucks. But 80%, if you found if you found your sweet spot, then 80% of the time you're doing it, and that's a beautiful thing. And be thankful for that. Be grateful for that.
Yeah.
The whole conversation about the trades, and the point for there is do your own thing. What are you good at? What drives you? What makes you get up in the morning and be excited about it? What 14 families can you take care of because you have found your bliss? Even though 20% of the time you're not necessarily enjoying it. All of that kind of stuff. Yeah, great lessons for us to take away. You're looking at me like something.
No, I have three I want to throw in there, and then there might be some overlap. But the first one has to do with your values, and we didn't actually have a specific conversation about values. But one of the things that I know that you value is, at least in my interpretation, is authenticity and focus on people. And that was obvious to me when you started talking about the disdain that you had for this focus on the stock price. We're not so concerned about really serving our customer, unless you're talking about our stockholder, that's the customer. Everybody else is just a way to make that entity happy. And that's not always a good path to go down. So that jumped out at me. And then, what you said about the 14 people and how, you have that sense of pride and accomplishment in being able to help those families as well, and bring them into doing something that you love and also help to better their lives. I think that's a beautiful thing. And then the last part of that is the comment that you made about not stopping working, right? That you don't see yourself as being one of those guys that's going to stop working. We've talked about that before. I think it's a Japanese philosophy. It's called Ikigai, where, we in our country, we think about, work until retirement, and then we're going to stop working. Other countries, and I think it's Japan in particular, that really focuses on, a career field or some type of craft that you do for your entire life. And that, you're not ever thinking about when you're not going to be doing that, right? Because you're in your mind, and the way that you just operate is that you'll not be doing that when you pass and go on to the next life. So, that kind of jumps out at me, and I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I just think I'd go crazy if I quit working.
Some listening to our podcast may want to actually reach out to you and have a chat or an email exchange or whatever. What do you have for them? What are for those folks?
Yeah. So, even though I do specialized marketing and dentistry, if you own a business or run a business or whatever, and you have some questions about marketing or what you should do, I'll give you absolutely free advice. But if you're a dentist, I'll charge you for it. No, just kidding. I'll give anybody a
whole bunch of calls now.
Yeah, I'll give anybody free advice. The best way to do it is go to my website, kickstartdental.com, and you should see a big free strategy session button there. Just click that, fill out your info, schedule a time with me. I'm the one that does all of our strategy sessions. So feel free, and I'd be more than happy to look at your business and give you some tips and advice.
Yeah.
All right. You ever done any work with motorcycle clubs?
No.
How about
I haven't.
How about podcasts?
We know he's done work with podcasts.
Yeah, podcasts. Yeah, for sure.
Bryant runs a motorcycle club. So
what's the name of it?
Strength and Honor Motorcycle Club. We're all current or former police, fire, military, EMS, public safety folks.
Awesome. That's cool. How many of you are there?
So the official answer to that is more than 100 and less than, 5,000.
All right. Gotcha.
Anyway, Chris, this has been great. We appreciate your time. Thanks for the wisdom of the ages that you have given to us, and there's been plenty there for our audience to take away.
No doubt.
And it's been a joy getting to know you. It's been a joy chatting with you, and we wish you all the best, and look forward to crossing paths with you again down the road.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. If there's anything we can do for you, man, don't hesitate to reach out. We certainly appreciate your time and the information that you've shared. Very, very valuable and entertaining too, which is always a plus.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Do your thing over there.
Do my thing over here. And then that other thing, like no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Great Beard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.